everybody, it's Emily at ARG Schooling, and today I'm doing a requested video. I'm going to talk about some books that are comfort reads. I'm trying to figure out how to do this, and I'm going to kind of talk it out as I go because honestly, but I was trying to figure out how to film this because comfort reads can mean different things to different people. And I kind of have like two ideas of what I consider comfort reads to be. One is a book that is just a happy, like, feel-good story, and one is a distraction story. Like, it just takes you, it sucks you in, and you just feel like it pulls you out of where you are, and I don't know if I'm explaining this right, but it's just like such a good story that it pulls you in and you forget where you are. So I was trying to decide how I wanted this video to be, like what books did I want to talk about. So I've kind of divided it into two groups. One being, and I honestly, for the most part, I think all of these kind of fit with like, these are feel-good stories, but also some are more of a suck you in variety and some are more of a just like comforting, calming variety. So with that being said, I'm going to start with the comforting stories because I feel like that's probably like the calming ones. These are probably the ones that people are looking for the most, I would think. I can't talk about comfort books without mentioning Lord of the Rings, because to me these are like the quintessential comfort reads. They are about hope, about like facing against evil and winning. To me, there's nothing more comforting than Sam helping Frodo to defeat the Ring of Power and like knowing that they're going to die, like knowing that they may never go back to the Shire and doing it anyway because that's what they have to do to save the rest of the world. And I don't know, to me, Sam is everything and is very comforting and brings me lots of hope. I just saw on Twitter yesterday or the day before, I can't remember, Sean Astin reading from Lord of the Rings as Sam and doing his speech, and oh my god, I almost cried because it just, that is everything. So I can't not talk about Lord of the Rings because to me these are everything that's comfort. I've been contemplating, even though we just watched the trilogy like at the beginning of January, I think I might need to watch them again because those movies are everything. One of the very rare cases of movie being better than book. Not that I think it's necessarily better. I think it enhances it really well. But if you feel like you're intimidated by reading these, go watch the trilogy because it's just as spectacular. Another book that I consider comforting is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. This is one of my all-time favorite books. I've read it a lot. When I was a child, I think I read this on repeat for like 3 years in a row. I would just like, every time I got to the end, I just start over and I just didn't want to leave. I wanted to be one of the March sisters. I just wanted to be a part of their family so badly. I completely get where Laurie was coming from and just desperately wanting to be a part of the March family. So yeah, to me, these are just comforting because it's so cozy and so warm and you just, I don't know, you just feel like you're a part of their family and you just never want to leave. You never want it to end. So yeah, this is my go-to when I just want to feel cozy. On that same note, my next two books are both, again, comfort cozy reads. Anne of Green Gables. There's nothing quite as comfortable and just like heartwarming as Avonlea. I want to be there so bad, but like this Avonlea, I don't want to go to like modern day Prince Edward Island. I want to live there at the same time as Anne. I want to be her bosom friend. I just want to be here. So, I don't know. Anne is so optimistic too. I just love how she looks at the world. I want to be more like Anne because I tend to look at things in a negative light and I see the bad before I see the good, and I hate that I do that, and I want to try to be more like Anne and see the positives in the dark, because there's a lot of dark right now, and it would be great to be able to see things the way Anne does. And Pride and Prejudice is also a go-to for me. I don't know why, but this book has been like one of my favorites since I was in high school. And in fact, this is my copy that I got from Mr. Mac back in my senior year of high school. And it's very sad at this point. It's falling apart, like this is all ripped and the pages are getting loose because I've read it a million times. It's funny, It's kind of silly, but it's also sort of weirdly romantic. Even though, you know, you want to hate Mr. Darcy at first, and then he starts to not be such a jerk, but like, I just love this. This is probably one of the only romance books that I've ever read so many times that it made it fall apart. But it's comforting. I want to live in England. Everything about England just feels comforting to me. Also, the adaptation from the 90s with Colin Firth as Mr. Darcy is the superior adaptation. I will fight you to the death. You can't, I don't know, I've seen the Keira Knightley one. It's okay, it's fine, but there's nothing quite as amazing as seeing a movie adaptation that like takes the book as its script and is just perfection. And also, I mean, Colin Firth is Mr. Darcy, the white shirt when he jumps in the pond, and it's great. This one kind of straddles the fence between a book that is comforting because of the story and the location, and a story that is very immersive. So it's going to be my bridge to that category, and that is Watership Down by Richard Adams. This book is comforting to me because I just love reading about it, the Warren and the countryside in which this takes place, in the English countryside, and it's just so cozy to me, but also the story is so immersive, it just pulls you in and you kind of forget where you are. For a minute, you're so wrapped up in the lives of these rabbits and their mythology and their language and all this stuff that you sort of just, you're a part of their world for a little while. And it's very immersive that way. But it's also just such a wonderful story and so comforting to read. So this is a great book when you just want to not be where you are right now and lose yourself in a great story. That's my bridge, like I said, to talking about stories that are just really, really immersive and just suck you in and you lose yourself. And the first one I'm going to talk about is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I love this because it is, one, very hopeful. This is one of the only science fiction books I've read that just felt, I don't even know how to describe the feeling of it, just like happy and hopeful. I love this group of beings that come together on the Wayfarer. They're all so interesting, but I love the view that this gives me into what our universe could potentially become if we were nice to each other. And to me, that just gives me so much hope, even though that's probably not the timeline we're on, but I love the idea of it anyway. And this is one of those stories too that it's very character driven. There's not a huge plot element happening. There's not like a lot of exciting things going on. It's just you're on this ship with these people and aliens, and you're experiencing what they're experiencing and learning about what it's like to live in this universe. And I just really love this book, and I really want to read the rest of the stories in the series because I own the sequel and have not read it. So I should probably pick that up, because if I thought this is great, I imagine that would be great as well. I want to talk about Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett, because to me, this is just such a fun story. You get immersed in it and you're just there with them trying to stop the apocalypse from happening. And I mean, when is there ever not a good time to read a story about an angel and a demon thwarting the apocalypse than right now? So I just think this is a fun story. And again, the adaptation is available to watch and it's very fun. I still think this is better. I loved the adaptation. I loved the casting and all the things that they did were great, but they did take out some of my favorite bits, and I think you should read the story too. So I highly recommend picking this up and just giggling through the whole thing. It's so funny and so charming and wonderful. And the last book I want to talk about is the one I just finished yesterday because I just think it's so great. And that is The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. This book was just so great. I can't stop raving about it. First up, this is the first book I've read in months that I was able to like really absorb myself in the story. Like I forgot for a minute where I was. I was just so invested. I needed to know what was going to happen. And that has been hard lately. Ever since, mid-March, my brain has just not been able to latch on to anything. I can't read when I'm just so stressed out. And so it's been very hard for me to focus. And this is the first book I picked up in a while that I just was so immersed in the story and so invested. I needed to know what was going to happen. It's a horror novel. It's about a vampire who is attacking this town. It's told from the perspective of these soccer moms in the 90s. They have this little very southern, it takes place in the South. It says it's Steel Magnolias meets Dracula, and it really is. It definitely encapsulates that whole southern, nice ladies, oh bless your heart kind of vibe. And it's these soccer moms in the 90s that have a little book club, and they read about true crime novels and stuff. So they're just like constantly reading about these terrible like serial killers. And when one of the moms, Patricia, notices some strange things happening with their new neighbor, she might want to point that out to people and, quickly get shot down because we don't do things like that. And it's just such a great story. And he does such a good job of like showing how powerful moms can be. Like throughout the story, their husbands are looking down at them. They're just housewives. They're just moms. But, you don't want to mess with a mom whose child is in danger. So I think this book was just so much fun, so wonderful. Grady Hendrix's books are just great for this too. All of his books are just so immersive and so fun. Like he does this great thing where he intermingles this just like horrifying, disgusting imagery. There's a scene with rats. There's a lot of like things that happen in his books, and you're totally grossed out, but you can't stop reading. And then like 2 scenes later, you're giggling, or you're just feeling very like heartwarming feelings for these characters that you just feel like are real people and you just want to be their friend. And I think he does a great job with that. Like something about the nostalgia and the feel of his stories are just so great. So highly recommend picking up anything by Grady Hendrix, really. But this is the one I just read. So I'm going to recommend that. So those are the books that I came up with that I would consider comfort reading. So what are your go-tos for comfort reading? I'd love to hear about it. Let me know down below in the comments and we can chat. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Happy reading. Bye.